A prominent physician now accused of a disgusting crime. The accuser, a male patient with disabilities. I'll go over the details and what the doctor is saying about the claims. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Dr. Michael Rousseau has been practicing medicine for more than 30 years. His specialty, urology. So it wouldn't be unusual for him to be around men who may be undressed from the waist down. Men who place their trust in him. Men who went to him.
Every day, patients walk into a doctor's office and hand over something they would never give a stranger: their bodies, their dignity, and their trust, all at once, often without a second thought. Most of the time, that trust is exactly why medicine works. 63 years old, 30 years in medicine. A urologist so respected that his own practice put his face on its website and its Facebook page, holding him up as one of their own. That is the version of Dr. Michael Blaise Rousseau that Clermont County, Ohio knew for decades. And prosecutors say it was a mask. Rousseau built his career with the Urology Group, a large practice based in Union Township, just east of Cincinnati, treating patients for everything from...
Patients were men. This case takes us to Clermont County, Ohio, east of Cincinnati. That's where Dr. Michael Rousseau was a celebrated physician with the Urology Group, a large practice that provides a number of services for people suffering from ailments in the kidneys, bladder, or urinary tract. The doctors also provide treatment for sexual health. The Urology Group celebrated Dr. Rousseau on its Facebook page, as it did other physicians with the group. But on April 20th, 2026, police and prosecutors say Dr. Rousseau took advantage of a patient in his office and told the man to essentially keep it a secret.
Kidney stones to bladder disease to sexual health complaints. It is a specialty built on an unusual level of intimacy and trust. Patients undress, expose themselves, and place their bodies entirely in the hands of a physician they've often just met. Most of the time, that trust is honored. Prosecutors in Clermont County say that with one particular patient, it wasn't. That patient was a man with a developmental disability, someone prosecutors say was unable to make an informed decision about what was happening to him in that exam room. And they allege Rousseau knew it. Advocates for adults with developmental disabilities have warned for years that this population faces a disproportionately high risk of sexual abuse, often from the very caregivers, doctors, and trusted authority figures they depend on, precisely because predators assume they won't be believed or won't be able to report what happened at all. That is almost exactly what investigators say happened here. In April of 2026, the man went to Rousseau's office for a medical appointment. What was supposed to be routine turned, according to a criminal complaint later filed in Clermont County Municipal Court, into something far darker. Investigators allege that Rousseau embraced the patient and kissed him, then exposed himself and asked the man to perform oral sex, which prosecutors say he did. When it ended, according to the complaint, Rousseau allegedly turned to his patient and said, "This has to stay between you and me." That single line would become...
During a meeting with the defendant embraced and kissed the victim, that at some point the defendant exposed himself and asked the victim to perform oral sex upon the defendant. The victim did in fact do that, and thereafter at the end the defendant said to the victim, "This has to be between you and me." That is in and of itself some level of coercion, threat, things of that nature.
One of the most damning details in the entire case, cited by prosecutors as proof the doctor understood exactly what he had done and needed his victim to stay quiet about it. He very nearly succeeded. The alleged assault happened in April. It didn't stay quiet for long. 4 days later, on April 24th, Union Township Police received a tip that a patient of Dr. Rousseau's had been inappropriately touched during an office visit. That tip reportedly came through an agency that provides services to adults with developmental disabilities, the same organization that supported the victim in daily life and, in this case, became the bridge between what happened behind closed doors and the police department that would eventually build a case against a respected physician. For someone with a significant developmental delay, disclosing something like this is rarely simple or immediate. It often takes a trusted caseworker, a familiar routine, or a caregiver noticing that something has changed before the full picture even starts to come together, which is part of why cases involving patients with disabilities can take longer to surface than cases involving victims who can advocate for themselves from the very first conversation. And then, strangely, the case seemed to stall roughly 90 days. That's about how long it took after that initial tip for anyone to sit down with Dr. Rousseau and ask him directly what happened. During that entire stretch, Rousseau kept practicing medicine.
Right. And he's still practicing. I mean, as of a couple of days ago, his photo was still on the Urology Group's website. Videos of him were still up on their YouTube channel. Pictures of him on Facebook lauding him as such a great doctor. So if they had any inkling that there was an allegation, all that stuff would have been taken down weeks ago.
And I think you said earlier that his antenna wasn't up. No one had contacted him. Or none of what you just highlighted, I think, would have been available. And I think given the nature of his occupation, as you pointed out, it makes speed a little more of an issue, time a little more of an issue.
His photos stayed up on the Urology Group's website. His videos stayed live on their YouTube channel. Nothing in his professional life suggested a single thing was wrong, even as, according to investigators, a formal complaint alleging the sexual assault of a vulnerable patient sat on file with authorities. It wasn't until July 30th that an investigator with the Ohio Medical Board, not initially the police department, sat down with Rousseau for a formal interview. What Rousseau reportedly told that investigator...
The complaint states, on July 30th, 2026, Ohio Medical Board investigator Joshua Dull met with Rousseau and completed an interview. During the interview, Rousseau admitted to engaging in a, quote, embrace and a kiss with the victim that caused Rousseau to become sexually aroused. Rousseau told Dull that his private part was exposed to the victim and that the victim performed oral sex on him. After a period of time, the oral sex ended, and Rousseau admitted to Dull that he told the victim that this has to be between you and me. So this interview took place with an investigator from the medical board at the end of July. The complaint continued. Rousseau told Dull that he had a, quote, lack of judgment when
matched what Rousseau had just admitted almost point for point. The hug, the kiss, and everything that followed, with two corroborating accounts now on record, one from the accused and one from the alleged victim. The case moved fast. On Tuesday, August 4th, Union Township Police arrested Dr. Rousseau. He was taken to the Clermont County Jail, where the same hands once trusted with patients, most private conditions were cuffed, searched, and processed like any other inmates. He was...
When describing the incident. On August 3rd, 2026, the victim responded for an additional interview in which the man disclosed that Rousseau engaged in a hug, followed by a kiss. The victim stated that Rousseau then asked the man to perform oral sex. The victim alleged Rousseau then exposed his private part and began masturbating before engaging in oral sex with the victim. The victim was and is substantially impaired because of a diagnosed mental condition. These additional
booked on charges of rape and sexual battery. At his bond hearing the following day, his attorney,
Dr. Rousseau, was forced to trade his white coat for a jail jumpsuit after police said he raped the man during a doctor's appointment. Dr. Rousseau was also charged with sexual battery. On August 4th, officers with the Union Township Police Department placed Rousseau under arrest and took him to the Clermont County Jail. Rousseau was booked on the rape and sexual battery charges. The prominent doctor was treated like any other inmate, cuffed and made to take off his shoes and searched, the whole 9 yards. He was photographed, a mugshot taken with glasses and without. Now back to the incident that police
described a man with deep roots and nothing in his past to suggest he would run. 63 years old, a resident of Indian Hill, one of Cincinnati's wealthiest suburbs, living in the region since 1990, with no criminal record and full cooperation with police since his arrest. Prosecutors argued the opposite. They told the court
additional interviews led police to pick up Dr. Rousseau and take him to jail. He appeared in court the next morning, where his attorney spoke on his behalf.
My client's 63 years old. He's lived in Cincinnati since 1990. He has family here. He's cooperated when he was detained. He engaged counsel. He's got no prior convictions. There's no indication that he will not appear before the court.
Dr. Rousseau is a man of means. He lives in a very nice neighborhood. The prosecutor laid out the allegations and why they wanted the judge to set a $2 million
Rousseau
bond.
had deliberately targeted a man who could not fight back and likely would not be believed, calling the case egregious precisely because of that calculation, and they reportedly asked the court for a $2 million bond. They also disclosed something else during that hearing, a recorded jail phone call in which Rousseau's own wife...
a $2 million bond.
However, the allegations herein are extremely disturbing. The defendant is a medical doctor, a urologist with an office in Clermont County, Ohio. As one of his patients, he saw the alleged victim in this case, who is a developmentally delayed individual, to the point where this, in meeting with the investigator and detective here, the individual drew pictures to try to help describe what went on in this particular case. So obviously we're dealing with a substantial development.
Could be heard telling him, "Don't hurt yourself." A detail serious enough that the judge weighed not only Rousseau's risk of fleeing, but his risk to himself. In the end,
of that nature. Ultimately, the matter was turned over to the Ohio Medical Board. An investigator met with the defendant. The defendant actually confessed and gave a version of the facts that was consistent with what the victim said occurred.
The prosecutor said he was also concerned about Dr. Rousseau's well-being after listening to one of his jail calls.
And at some point was arrested, has made a jail call to his wife indicating concerns over his own well-being. The wife said to him on this jail call, "Don't hurt yourself." The defendant made comments that were consistent with the notion that he had thought about it, and for a number of reasons, we think this gentleman needs a significantly high bond.
The judge said he believed Dr. Rousseau could be a flight risk. He also said that the allegations were very serious and acknowledged the concern that Rousseau might be a danger to himself. Judge Garber set a $1 million bond for Dr. Rousseau, ordered him to surrender his passport and wear a GPS monitor. His lawyer also said his client had left the Urology Group, quit his job. Rousseau posted bail, and the next day a grand jury indicted him on felony charges of rape, sexual battery, and gross sexual imposition.